So now we are live. So let's start on what we wanted to discuss practically how we can implement the Vivekachudamani. That is the topic. So, Shri, can you just reflect back on where we stopped yesterday?
Yeah, sure. I think more we were discussing what how a guru has to guide his shishya who is seeking for this gnanam. Yeah? And then we were at verse number somewhere 49 within the Vivekachudamani.
Okay. Let me check that. Maybe when I see that, I'll remember. In fact, I also informed Lata, so then
Yeah.
I totally forgot. This is about Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, that one, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now I remember Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana. How do we do it, right? So that is where we ended.
Hmm.
And we ended with the last shloka is Ajnana Yogat
Yoga.
ya Paramatmanah tava hi anatma bandha tatah eva samsritah tayoh vivekah udita bodha vanhi ajnana karyam prada het samulam. So, how do we come out of ignorance? Okay, good. So, first thing we need to start is to understand the nama and rupa, name and forms, without which the understanding of vairagya is not going to happen. And for vairagya, we need to start with viveka, discrimination. So, let us look at what is real and what is unreal. So we can start from various sides. So let's start with the birth as a condition. Okay. So now, if there is something called as birth, then there should be something called as death, or decay and death is part of it. We can't take one and leave the other. We can't try to exist and not exist at all. It's not possible. So existence and non-existence are going to be there. So the Viveka we need to see is anything that we call or I call as myself. What does that myself means? And effectively or reality wise, if we see what I call myself is a combination of body and the mind, and rather more on the body because I have never seen the mind. So, first and foremost, what is the contemplation I am supposed to be doing? I am supposed to be observing the breath all the time as a practice because breath is something which is not seen. There is an ignorance on breath or avidya on the breath. That breath itself is what kills. So let us say if we were to breathe around 10 crore times and I have already had a breath of 9 crores and 99 lakhs and 999 or whatever it is. So the last breath is the last breath. That's all what I have. So now the Viveka here is to discriminate on this breath, which is the start of life, which is the start of death. As we breathe in, we breathe life. As we breathe out, we breathe out the life. There is nothing anybody can do except for watching oneself being dead at any given point in time. Now, in this breath comes all kind of identification. So I am identified in the body as a name called as embryo. If I were to deeply observe what is an embryo, it is just a name for a particular form. Now that form keeps on changing. So the name also keeps on changing. Now, what is moving in this name and form is that consciousness. There is nothing anybody can do other than this. So, when as an embryo, what is my nature? Original nature. Deep sleep. That is my original nature. Not mindful of this body which is getting built up. Now, after a while, this embryo is now called as fetus. Now, what happened to the embryo? It no longer exists. Is that me as that embryo? Supposed to be so, because the consciousness is continuing. So then I feel I existed as an embryo. Then I feel now I am existing as a fetus. After a while, the mother starts to feel that there is somebody which is kicking the stomach, and the mother feels this is my child. It names called as child, but inside the stomach it is called as fetus. Outside it's called as a child. Are we sure whether it is an embryo, or is it a fetus, or is it a child? It's only designation. It's designated as. So that child inside, or the embryo inside, or the fetus inside doesn't know it is child. After some time, the same child which was called as the child by the mother and by the father, by the doctor, which had taken the shape of this embryo and fetus, comes out of the womb. Now again there is a name called as womb, and we don't know what it is. So let's say that is the womb. As it comes out, does it know by chance this is my father, this is my mother, this is the doctor, this is the nurse who attended, this would be my school, this would be my college, this would be my workplace, and this would be my husband or a wife, and this would be my children, this would be their grandchildren, or anything like that? These are all unreal happenings. The only reality is that there is consciousness. If the consciousness were to depart from that body, no longer there is any growth. Nobody can say this child will grow, because what was growing is the body, or what could be growing is the body. Now that body has got disconnected from this consciousness. So no longer we can designate anything at all. Now let's continue. That consciousness is indeed there. So the mother and father are happy, but is the child happy? Does the child know? We all have become parents. We've seen what it is. At least we have forgotten, we didn't know when we were that child. But we ourselves have seen this child coming out. Did we ever think for once, who is this person? And that is when this avidya has happened. We have got engrossed with something which itself has no reality. And mind you, except for this consciousness, nothing else is real there. All the designations are being given, all the titles that are being given is for that body alone. So now after few days, the parent name it. But then the child is unaware of that name. It has to be taught that this is your name, and this is your father, and this is your mother. So it is conditioned reality, not the actual reality. Now, conditioned by what? With what? Conditioned by the five senses of sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, and its corresponding objects of senses, that is, the forms, then the sound, then the touch, then the tactile, then the one which can be smelled, or rupa, gandha, rasa, shabda, sparsha. So all that we are seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling is what we call as life. Again, that is not real. Because consciousness is there, there is seeing. Remove the consciousness, there is no seeing. Because consciousness is there, there is hearing. Remove that consciousness, there is no hearing. And likewise for the other three of them. And because mind is there, it can correlate everything and create an image which it can enjoy. Again, mind is an instrument. It can do only thought rendering process called as chintana because of the chitta, which is consciousness for the mind. So, the concept of embryo is just a concept. The concept of having a fetus is again a concept. The concept of a child is a concept. Whereas the name given to it is the name. Now, this body, when was born, after few days, the people who held in the hands called it as Vilas. Now, the Viveka should be, is the consciousness named Vilas? No. Is the conscious named mind? No. Is the body named Vilas? To a certain degree, yes. Why? Because when as a child it was named Vilas, but now that child no longer exists. Neither the memory of the child exists, but since there has been constant naming every moment, Smriti exists, memory, but not the child. The senses make it possible for the mind to feel itself as the name. And senses are connected to mind. And then exists I am as the ego. So now the Viveka is to see what is real, what is really happening. The consciousness has no designation. The consciousness has no identification. The consciousness is only bound. Other than that, it has got nothing to do with the body, nothing to do with the mind, because it was never at all part of it. Even though the mind considers, it reflects upon itself, it feels upon itself, and creates the ownership, saying that I exist. I am so and so. And that so and so is the designation. So and so is the identification. For whom? For somebody called as outside world. Actually, if you start searching for the outside world, there is no outside world at all. It is just again a combination name and forms along with the consciousness with five senses and the five sense objects, which I call as, let us say, somebody, the second person. So I am the first person, and there is a second person, and there is a third person, and there is a fourth person. And the second person, I will say you, because I am saying I, and the second person will become you, and the third person becomes he or she, just for communication. They in reality don't exist. So this is the Viveka what I need to have. Any questions so far? Am I too fast?
Uh, I think this is a detailed explanation on the name and forms. Yeah.
Okay. So then comes Vairagya. Raga means lust. Actual meaning of raga is attraction. Because of this name and form, I have an attraction and repulsion towards the five senses which are picking up the five sense objects. So there's a defect. I can see. Beautiful defect. What? The same object is called as an embryo. A same object is called as a fetus. And the same object is called as a child. Because they look three different things at three different time and space. The consciousness does not have time dimension nor has space dimension. The matter has time dimension and space dimension. That's a defect. If I was there, then how am I conditioned by time and space? Since I don't exist, I am bound by time and space. So, this duplicate I, conditioned by the designations and identification, projects itself as the reality because of various designations. So I'm called as so and so, I'm called as so and so's husband, I'm called as so and so's wife, I'm so called as so and so's son, I'm called as so and so's friend, I'm called as so and so's brother, so and so, like that. We can really keep on designating one thing after the other. The designation is no reality. The title is of no reality. The name called villas has no reality. And again, if I have a etymology or nirukti for villas, it's again created by the human mind. So I can come up with a meaningful thing for villas. But again, it is explanation of the same thing, which is unreal. So Vilas is unreal, the consciousness is real. Body is unreal, the consciousness is real. Because of consciousness, body exists. Not because body exists and hence consciousness exists. That is wrong. So then, why should I be in raga? No need. There's a defect. I am able to see the defect. How can this changes in the body, this changes in the mind, this changes in the feeling, this changes in the way we see things called as I and mine and myself? Doesn't make any sense. So the only way I can do is to have dispassion. Passion here is I am myself. I have a home. I have a wife. I have a child and he is doing so and so, and she is doing so and so, and we live in so and so, and we have so much of comforts, we have so much of money, we have so much of power, we have so much, or we don't have. So we now get into the other side of it, which is I don't have, which is dvesha. I have is raga, I don't have is dvesha, and I want is the moha. So now I am consisting of mind, body, intellect, or body, mind, intellect, BMI, is now bound and wanting to do something which is unreal. Why unreal? Because all the matter we can collect is only four elements. Either it will be solid, or it will be liquid, or it will be gaseous, or it will be heating. That's all we can. You touch your laptop, it's hot. Before it came on to play, it was cold. Now it is hot. You touch your pillow, it is soft. You touch yourself, you can be hard and soft, you can be light, you can be heavy, you can be whatever. But that's maximum we can do. That means it's all four elements enclosed in a space. That's the fifth element. So whatever I say as myself is a combination of five elements, a combination of five karma indriyas and five jnana indriyas and five tanmatras, all totaling to 20. That's all what I am. There is nothing else in this I am. And one ahankara, one buddhi, and one manas. And finally, we have the Mula Prakriti, which is Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And that's all what is called I am. There is nothing in here. So either I am having the gross or I am having subtle. That's the combination. So who is this I am then? All of this and only designations. So viraga is what I can do, which ultimately becomes the vairagya, and that leads to sannyasa. Why sannyasa? Is because there is no point in collecting just impressions, wherein the mind pulls the consciousness to do something, and ultimately the consciousness will become the prisoner. Mind by itself is not a living thing, it is a dead piece. Body by itself is again a dead piece. Intellect by itself is a dead piece. Feeling by itself is a dead piece. Thinking by itself is a dead piece. Thoughts by itself is dead piece. And all objects are also dead piece. There is nothing in that as life. I cannot find life in it. None of the body parts has its own sustainable life. Just check it out. The food by itself doesn't have a sustainable life. Water by itself doesn't have sustainable life. The drinking water, what I mean.
Sorry to break you, Vilas.
Sure, sure.
No, I'll have to move on to another meeting. Can
Oh,
we continue this tomorrow?
oh, you have another meeting, so then we can continue tomorrow. Tomorrow in the same way we can do.
Yeah, yeah, something.
Lata, you also want to join tomorrow?
Let me just check my calendar.
Sure.
Tomorrow for 9:30 to 10 I can join. Yes.
Okay, so then we will cover half an hour then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
All
yeah,
right.
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you
Bye.
then.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye, bye.